Hi, I'm Kate Edwards and I'm so excited to share with you our next video in RCK's new series where we are interviewing prominent women in business. We'll be chatting to them about their journeys and how they got to where they are today, and crucially asking them how companies can continue to champion and support women in business. Today I'm joined by Eshita Kabra Davies, who is the CEO and founder of the world's first social fashion rental app, By Rotation. She has also recently been featured on Forbes 30 Under 30 technology list. So Eshita, can you tell us a bit about how your professional journey has developed and how you've got to where you are today?
Yeah, sure. So I'm the founder of By Rotation, which, as you know, is a social network for lending and renting designer fashion. But my career was very different to what I'm doing today. So I used to work in finance for 6.5 years before I founded this tech platform.
So where did the idea come from for the business, and is it something you've always wanted to do?
Yeah, so I was born to entrepreneurs, so I think being an entrepreneur has always been somewhere in my blood. I do believe that things can be through nature and nurture at the same time. But I guess I founded By Rotation from a personal need. You know, I was brought up in Singapore, very well known for its shopping malls. It was very much a consumerist, kind of an ex-shopaholic really. And I was planning my honeymoon, which is a trip of a lifetime, and I wanted to wear nice clothing to Rajasthan, the desert state in India where I was born. And that's when I started thinking it would be so cool if I could borrow or rent nice fashion for this trip. And I witnessed that, and I noticed that there was a complete gap in the market. You know, there was no such fashion rental solution that was available in the UK or even Europe. You know, you had the incumbents like Rent the Runway, which is now a listed company, Y Closet in China, which has since closed down, and Style Theory in Singapore, another inventory subscription business. And it became very clear to me that there was no such solution out there where I could just borrow your fashion, for example, and pay you for it. So that's how By Rotation was incepted, you know. It's a great way to save money, make new friends, dress in new clothes, and also save the planet one rental at a time.
So what challenges and obstacles did you come across when you were setting up the app?
Well, I founded By Rotation in October 2019, 5 months before the entire world went into global lockdowns, right? Very interesting time to run and launch a fashion rental platform. There's no need to rent clothes. We were all, you know, wearing loungewear and PJs. Some of us were not even getting out of bed, right? So there was no reason to get dressed, and we had created this amazing platform, this amazing app. You know, we had this amazing, very engaging social media channel on our Instagram, but there was no reason to use our service or our product. So that was definitely a very challenging time. It's also very difficult when you're a first-time founder because, well, firstly, you don't have any history, right? No one really knows if they can trust you with their money or if they can trust you and join your team and give up their existing career. So it's always harder when you're a first-time founder. And I guess the last thing I would add is it's also very difficult when you're an immigrant. So I'm not British. I didn't grow up here. I didn't go to the same schools as everyone else did. I didn't grow up in the same neighborhood. And actually meeting people and convincing them to give me a chance was quite difficult. And I think that's probably the lack of network that I faced as an immigrant who also was launching a business in a completely different industry to which I had worked in. You know, it was very, very hard to kind of get those warm intros and leads. But yeah, one thing I really found from that experience is it's all about finding your own tribe and going where you're loved. And it's something that I still tell my team today.
So you actually began your career as an investment analyst. So how did that career change come about?
My first job out of uni was at Standard Life Investments, very prestigious, you know, investing in corporate bonds, writing like $20, $80 million checks into corporate bonds of Scandinavian banks, which by the way have become very racy this year with everything that's happening. And you know, the dream was to get your CFA, to become a portfolio manager, and it's very much how I thought of as my career and what I expected for myself as well. But I think there was always a part of me that always wanted to do something creative, something entrepreneurial. And again, you know, it probably owes back to you know, the way that I was brought up amongst an entrepreneurial family and parents who are entrepreneurs. I guess I just didn't really know what it was that I wanted to found a business in. But I spent this time as an analyst working at large corporates, I guess, learning how to be much more analytical, much more professional, how to be much more diligent, how to project manage, really build up that sort of work ethic, which I think is hard to build up when you're a first-time graduate who has never created a business of their own. So I'm very, very pro working at a larger company or for someone else to build up that sort of ethic. And I think that's really helped me become a better leader for the rest of my team as well, because I know what's expected when you are at various levels of your career.
So what does your day-to-day look like nowadays?
I know everyone says this, but it's very true that each day is very different. I mean, right now I'm recording a podcast in the city, right? Before this, I was telling you that I was doing a bunch of investor calls because we are fundraising. So it's very different day to day. What has really helped me actually since I hired a senior leadership team, I hired a COO and a head of growth very recently. Both come from very experienced startups and have more than 20 years of startup experience combined. And what's really helped me is with this concept of OKRs, so having my own objectives and key results. And now I try to focus more on the strategic parts of the business, be that fundraising or be that our US expansion, and less so about the day-to-day KPIs, like how many users did we get today, how many listings did we get on the app, how many rentals happened. So it's kind of stepping away from the more day-to-day operations of running the business and thinking about larger strategic projects that are more for the medium to long-term vision of the company.
So tell us a little bit about a highlight for you on this journey.
I think the biggest thing for me, and I still feel it every day, is when I hear about people using the app. So you told me that you use the app for a lot of weddings that you went to last summer. I hope you go to a lot of weddings this year and use it as well for that. I love that. I love that. And I think that's what makes me really happy. We've got some incredible stories about women funding their fertility journey by the rental income that they're making from lending out their dresses. And it's kind of amazing bringing back my love for fashion and style and making it less fluffy and less about the vanity and aesthetics of fashion itself, but actually making it as a financial empowerment tool for women to be able to leave their job so that they can spend more time with their kids and actually make a very lucrative business out of it. We've got another woman who makes on average £3,000 a month from lending out her wardrobe. And for me, this is super exciting because it's kind of full circle as an investment analyst that we've created a concept where fashion, dresses and silly designer bags or whatever are actually a way to fund your side hustle and add that extra income in what is currently a recessionary climate.
What would you say to a woman who was starting out on a similar journey to yours? How would you encourage them to pursue their dreams of becoming a business owner?
I think I'd probably give a couple of pieces of advice. The first is a little more tough love, which is that, and my dad said this to me as well, and my dad is someone I really admire and look up to, a self-made entrepreneur, that you will never be the same person that you were when you first set out to go on this entrepreneurial journey. I definitely think my eyes have really woken up to a bunch of hairy topics that I wouldn't have imagined. So just be aware that it's not butterflies and rainbows and one Instagram photo shoot after another. There's actually a lot of hard work, blood, sweat and tears literally that do go into founding your business. And the second thing that I would really encourage you to do, which is what I did as well, and I found it to be very useful, is to experiment and make it a side hustle before you go full-time with the business idea. Because I think, again, it's that point on, it might just be a passion. It might not actually be something that you want to make into your full-time gig. And I think that's quite important to note, because I think a lot of people go into wanting to be an entrepreneur and a founder without actually realizing that you might not want your passion to become how you make your money, because you want to keep them separate. I think one of the things that I've learned is passion is not enough for running a business. It's being tenacious.
And what do you think companies can be doing to support and champion women for leadership positions?
I think it might be necessary to have some quotas to ensure that women are involved in senior level discussions and that they are given a space at the table. because I think there's a lot of lip service around that, training, coaching, mentoring women, but not actually giving them a seat at the table so that they're in charge of their own destiny. That's something that I'm quite passionate about. But I do think that men should also be involved in this conversation. I think men should be there to, fight for us to have a space at that table and to ensure that, we're very much seen at par with them. And I was very lucky that my first ever boss out of uni was exactly that. He didn't think that I was any different just because I was a woman. And if I was, then I was bringing in a specific, unique perspective to investing that maybe other men weren't. And he was actually very excited and keen to hear those points, rather than to kind of think that she needs coaching and mentoring because she's a female.
And in your personal industry, how do you see the sustainable fashion space growing over the next few years?
I think it's growing, right? It's growing about 25%, compounded annual growth rate for the rental industry. I think for resale, it's a bit lower, 22%, because resale is there. It's been around for a while. So I'm very, very excited about the future of circular, sustainable business models within the fashion industry. It is one of the most polluting industries in the world, which makes sense because we all wear fashion and clothes every day. It's also a very consumerist industry, and there's very little regulation. I was surprised to see that after working in finance, how little it's regulated, and it affects every consumer. So I think there's a lot of exciting things happening in this industry.